Hey guys, this is Scott from The Average Joe's Armory, the channel for The Average Joe, and today we're going to be sharing 3 of the first autoloading shotguns ever produced, as well as the surprising story behind them. Welcome back, guys. Now before we get into these autoloading shotguns and the story behind them, I'm going to ask that you please like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you get notifications for all of our future content. Now, as most of you know, we are a newer channel, so we really do appreciate that support. Now, with that being said, let's dive right into today's video. Now, in front of me here, we've got 3 different autoloading shotguns, and these are the first autoloading shotguns to ever be designed, produced in the world. So before we go into the actual individual shotguns, I want to tell you a little bit of a story behind them. Now, as most of you know, John Browning is a revolutionary designer, and he's designed a lot of firearms throughout the years. And of course, he actually designed the first autoloading shotgun in 1898. And as some of you know, he actually sold a lot of his designs to Winchester. So that's where he took the design and he wanted to make a deal to have them produce it. Now, he's been on record by saying this is his best design. And Winchester couldn't work out the deal that he particularly wanted. So in 1900, after these patents were in place and Winchester and him couldn't make a deal, he took the patents, he took the design, and he went somewhere else. So now Winchester was pretty much out of the game on the world's first autoloading shotgun. He decided to go to Remington. Great company, been around since 1816, America's oldest gun manufacturer. And this is where the story gets a little eerie, because he was actually sitting in the president of Remington's office waiting to meet with him when he was informed by his secretary that the president had died of a heart attack, and then he was unable to meet with him. Now, based on those events, which again are really out there and eerie and kind of a weird story to begin with, he couldn't share his designs with Remington or make any kind of deal. So now he had to go look for a third company, and he decided to go overseas to FN, or Fabrique Nationale, in Belgium. And with that being said, in 1902, the world's very first autoloading shotgun was produced, known as the A5, which is right here, the first gun in the rack. Before we go into the guns individually, I'll just share the rest of the story. Shortly after that, in 1905, luckily, John Browning was able to go back to the US and work out a deal with Remington. So they actually created the Autoloader 5, and that's when this came into play in 1905. And then we'll get into the story of this last one a little bit later. Let's get into the FN or Browning A5. We'll talk a little bit about the history with this particular gun. So as you can see, this was the one that was produced from 1902, the world's first autoloading shotgun, and it was produced from 1902 all the way till 1998. Now, majority of its life, it was produced in Belgium, and then in the mid-70s, they transferred production over to Japan. Now, in that time period, from 1902 to 1998, they made 3 million of these, which actually doesn't sound like a lot for such a long time period. This particular model is a 1931, and as you can see, we've got some engravings on the receiver, checkering on the wood, walnut, and then we've got the longer barrel on here too. Another key feature here is that it's got the bolt release right here on the receiver, and we've also got the safety on the trigger guard. And then it's got the notorious knob on the stock that most people have heard of with these A5s, as well as the notorious humpback shape here on the back of the receiver. Yeah, that was the world's first right here. And this is 1931 that we have to share with you guys today. After that, we've got the Remington that was produced from 1905 all the way till 1947. A little quick story on the Remington is that from 1905 to 1910, they were called the Autoloader 5. And then in 1911, they changed the name to the Model 11. This one that we have here today is actually in 1910, so it's the last year before they actually officially changed the name to Model 11. So this receiver doesn't have any name on it at all. And then in 1911, they did print the Model 11 name on the left side of the receiver. Now, this one also has the side charging handle, the bolt release right here on the receiver, the unique humpback shape design, and this one's got its safety actually in the trigger guard, which eventually later was changed over to a cross bolt safety. This one also has that notorious knob that we were talking about, And other similarities is that both of these came with different checkering, different furniture, different barrel lengths, different engravings, things like that. With this one, you know, it was produced between 1905 and 1947. And with that said, you know, there's a couple other facts about this that in the 1920s and 1930s, this was actually a popular gun that gangsters would use. I mean, it's a semi-auto shotgun, right? So you can get a lot of rounds out of it pretty fast. These all hold 4 in the tube and then 1 in the chamber. So and they are recoil operated, but they still, as fast as you pull that trigger, they move. So it was a pretty popular design used by gangsters with much shorter barrel. And then also during World War II, Remington produced 65,000 of these, and our soldiers use these in World War II, which is also pretty cool. And those have a unique engraving on the side of them as well, if it was one of those guns that went overseas. So that's a lot of the history with the Remington Model 11 or Autoloader 5. And they produced about 850,000 of these between 1905 and 1947. So that brings me to my last gun, right? Now, I told you at this point that Winchester was pretty much, you know, out of the game on the autoloading shotgun. So there's a little bit more to the story. Winchester at this point was feeling pretty salty and they wanted to get into the game, right? However, John Browning did a really good job with his patents in 1900. They couldn't use the side charging handle. They couldn't have the bolt release here. There's a lot of things that they couldn't do because of that. T.C. Johnson, who worked for Winchester, it took him, 10 years to design this, which is the 1911 SL. So it looks and operates similarly, but there are some key differences to this. And those key differences actually make this the most dangerous shotgun designed out there. In fact, it was known as the Widowmaker because it was a little bit more difficult to use, and there were a lot of, let's just say, accidents. A lot of people unfortunately lost their lives and lost body parts operating this shotgun. So let's kind of dive right into it, right? One of the big differences that you notice is that there's no side charging handle. So how do we operate this thing? Well, if you take a look at the barrel up here, it's actually knurled. So you can actually grab onto it with your hand and pull it in, which is going to open up the chamber here. And then you could drop a shell in there, close her on up, put more shells here in the tube. But that's how you operate it. You're not going to be able to pull this bolt back with a side charging handle, which is unique. The bolt release is back here, which doesn't really make a difference much with these. And then the safety is right here, which is a cross bolt safety, which actually is more of a newer design because this one eventually got a cross bolt safety as well. But anyways, that's probably the biggest difference with this, which makes it a little bit dangerous, right? Other than that, this particular model is a 1913, and these were produced from 1911 all the way till 1925. Only about 83,000 of them were produced because, let's be honest, they weren't a big hit. The most dangerous shotgun design, and unfortunately a lot of people had accidents with it. And pretty cool story behind the world's first autoloading shotgun designed by John Browning and the 3 companies that kind of had their opportunity. And as you know, Winchester kind of lost that. FN and Browning took advantage of it, and Remington could have been the first, but unfortunately they had that incident with the president passing away. So kind of a cool story. Really excited to get these guns here to show you guys here today. This is Scott signing off. I love doing the research. We love taking the video, and most importantly, we do love sharing it with all of you. So please take the time to like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you can get notifications of all of our future content. Let's keep on doing these videos and having some fun. See you guys next time.